Hi everybody, and welcome to another camera review. And today I'm looking at the Kodak Retina IIIc, and this was produced from 1954 to 1957. The Retina range were made in Germany by Kodak from around 1934 to 1969, and there was a lot of different models, and they also made reflex SLR models as well. I want to show you in the case because I think the cases of these are so beautiful. Nice leather case with chrome trimming. It was made at a time when people cared about what they made. And remove the case. You can use it as a half case if you wish by just taking off this flap. But to remove the whole case, use this screw at the bottom which fits into the tripod socket. And you can see this is a folding camera where the lens retracts into the body, and a lot of the Retinas wear folding cameras, which makes it a bit more compact. I won't say it's actually small by any means. To pull out the lens, you use this little button here. You just push it slightly across, and then you can pull on the cover, and that beautiful looking lens pops out. And they did come with slightly different lenses as standard. I think it was all 50mm. This is a Retina Xenon f2 50mm Schneider lens. And the beauty of this camera as well, you can actually replace this 50mm lens with a 35mm or an 80mm. Not the whole lens, you just actually replace the front. And you do that with this catch here. See, there's a little catch with a dot on, red dot pointing to the white dot. And if you pull on that, I can do that with my thumb, and then it's a little bit stiff. I can turn the front element of the lens across till the red dots line up, and then this section of the lens comes off completely, revealing that inside, and then you can fit other lenses. So I'll show you in the manual which I got with this, which is in German. You can fit a telephoto front, which is obviously quite a big section, and that's an 80mm f4 or a 35mm lens, which is at f4 as well, and just basically fit in the same way. So I'll put this 50mm one back, and you align the red dots so, and turn it till it locks into position. So it's a nice little feature. Now, unfortunately, with this particular model, the viewfinder, it is a rangefinder by the way, obviously, and the viewfinder only shows one frame line, which is for the 50mm. There's also no parallax correction at all. So if you were to fit those other lenses, you would need a finder, something fitting on the shoe, and Kodak did one with the 35 and 80mm frame lines, which also had a parallax wheel as well for judging the framing. The other thing, obviously, when you do that, it puts the focusing out, so you have to focus the lenses slightly differently. Now the focusing is done with this little lever here on the front, and if it's not set to infinity, you can't retract the lens back into the body. But to retract the lens, what you do is, when it's set at infinity, you press in these two buttons at the top and bottom, press those in, and you can push the lens back, and it goes back into the body. So with the focusing, you would look through the viewfinder and adjust the wheel, and there is a patch in the centre of the frame, and you adjust the focusing until the split images become one. Obviously easier to do in practice rather than explain. I'm sure you know that principle and you've heard me say it before. It's not a very big viewfinder, but it's acceptable. You can work it that way, and that focuses the lens. Now, say if you was using the other lenses, so for example, using the focusing with this lens, let's say it would set to 4 meters. These scales are in meters, by the way. That's the index mark. So that would be at 4 meters. If you had one of the other lenses fitted, the 35 or the 80, you have to transpose that setting onto the setting on the bottom. And you've got 2 different more scales here. This scale, the chrome one with the black lettering, is for the 35mm lens, and then the black one with the chrome lettering is for the 80mm telephoto lens. So you'd have to transfer that setting onto this one by adjusting it and setting the scale on there, and that's how you would focus with the other lenses. So it's a bit of a rigmarole, but it is possible to do that. But anyway, the standard lens, it's a lot easier. Now the next thing is look at is the meter, and this one has a dual scale meter. You can use it indoors or outdoors, and if you're using it outdoors, usually you would have the flap on the meter closed, because obviously the light is a lot brighter. Indoors, like here, I could open the flap just by touching the top there, and it flips the flap open, and you can see the selenium meter there, all the cells. And obviously depending on that, depending on how you read off the meter on the top. So in this case, when I'm looking indoors, you can see the needle. You can see that. You can see the needle there. If I put my finger in front, you'll see the needle moving up and down. And what you do is you turn this outer dial till the red pointer matches up with the meter reading, and then that gives you, on the scale on the top, a EV. Now say I've got the meter exposed here, so what you do is you read off this scale, which is showing you a diagram with a lot of cells, the black one. The red mark is if you've got the flap closed and it's just showing a single cell. So in this case you read off that one, and it's showing a EV value of around 10, as you can see. And to then transpose that reading to the settings, you first would probably set a shutter speed you would desire, maybe say 60th of a second, and the shutter speed settings are here. See them on the front here on the chrome. They are the shutter speed settings. So you can turn this ring until it's showing a 60th of a second, which is there. And then, so that's the shutter speed you want. You then transpose that 10 setting of the exposure meter by moving this catch on the bottom. And you can see you've got red numbers going round this section of the lens. So you would move that until it's on 10. And then that gives you the aperture, which you can see white writing on black, of f4. So for that particular light reading, you've got a 60th of a second at f4. You can, of course, say if you want to slow a shutter speed, if you adjust, now that's set, if you adjust the shutter speed, it automatically adjusts the aperture accordingly, so you get the same exposure setting. So you could have for example, if you want less depth of field, f2, you can set it to f2 and it automatically adjusts the shutter speed. There it's when it's 250th of a second. So that's a nice little feature once you've got the exposure set. Make an adjustment to the aperture or shutter, adjust both accordingly for the correct light reading. So then to take the shot, you use the advanced lever, which I forgot to mention is on the bottom. Turn it around fully, let go, which cocks, obviously winds the film, sets the shutter, and then you can release the shutter button on the top. I'll show you now to load a film, and I'm going to open this beautiful back and show you inside because it's really well manufactured. You move this catch on the bottom in the direction of the arrow, so you can expose that button, which you press. Difficult to do with one hand. And that flicks open the back. You can see how beautiful it looks inside with all the metal etc. that they've used. You lift up the rewind crank. There's no lever as such, it's a rewind crank. Just pull that up fully and insert your film. Put down the crank, pull the leader across and put the end into the slot in the take-up spool, and then wind on the advance lever one frame, and what you're ensuring is that the sprockets are fitting, the holes in the film are fitting on the sprocket correctly here. Then once you've done that, you can close the back, slightly take up any slack. And there's two more things you need to do now. First of all, set the ASA speed or DIN number which they used here, and 400 ASA film is DIN 27, which I've already got set, and that's the film that's loaded here, because obviously that calibrates the meter accordingly. The other thing you need to do is set the counter. The frame counter is here, and the frame counter on these don't reset automatically when you open the back. You have to put them back to 0, and you do that by first of all pressing this button, which is called the film release button, and then you push this button on the back in the direction of the arrow to pump the counter, which you will see. So press that in, pump the counter, and you pump it round until it's on the diamond shape, and then in that position you advance the film, cocking the shutter, firing a couple of times until you're on the first frame, which is 36, and then it will count down automatically. When it gets to 1, it will stop. It won't allow you to move the advance lever any further. So then to rewind the film, you press in the clutch button, they call it, or you could call it rewind button in later days. You just press that in once until it clicks. That releases your sprocket inside, and you can then pull up the rewind crank to the first position, which is about 1/4 of an inch, just to give you a bit more leverage, so you can then rewind the film back into the cartridge. And I'm just going to rewind it so it comes off the end of the sprocket, because this is my test roll I can use again. Then open the back again, lift up the rewind crank all the way, and remove your film. So other features of this camera is it has a shoe on the top. It's not a hot shoe, it's a code shoe. If you fit a flash to it, you can connect the flash to a socket here at the bottom of the lens for connecting a flash, and it was usually bulb flashes in those days. You could fit electronic flashes as well, and you can also fit flash accessories that fit on a bracket on the side, and they would interlock with the tripod socket and this little hole here for connecting various accessories. So that's for fitting the flash, and your flash setting is made via this little green lever here. You see it's set on X at the moment, but there's also an M setting, and you just flick that to M or X according to what bulb or electronic flash you're using. So also you've got a V setting on this green lever, and that's for the self timer. And to use the self timer, you need to have the shutter cocked first, and then you can flick the green lever to the V. You can hear it winding up a little mechanism, because then when you press the button, it uses the self timer spring to to count. It's roughly around 10 seconds, and then it fires the shutter. Going back to the shutter speeds, etc. Shutter speeds range from B for bulb, which you basically hold the button down, it holds the shutter open until you let go. And then from 1 second all the way up to 500ths of a second, which is quite a good range for a small rangefinder camera like this in 1950s. The aperture obviously depends on the lens. On this one it's from f2 up to f22, again, which is a nice range. Looking on the front, you can see that's the viewfinder window. That's the window that gives you the patch for the rangefinder. I'm just trying to think of anything else I can tell you. You've got little lugs on the side for connecting a strap, etc. And that's about it. Nice little camera. Very well made, as I say, and in the days they were very expensive little things. So there you go, hope you've enjoyed looking at this Kodak Retina IIIc. They did make a Big C as well, which came after this, and the Big C had the frame lines for the 35 and 80mm lens built into the viewfinder, and also had parallax correction as well. You did lose the dual scale meter, it just come with a single meter range. Now, just one other thing to mention, it does come inside the case actually, nicely fitted, a nice little incident light cover. Get it out. With the Kodak name on, and this is for if you're taking incident readings either indoors or outdoors. This clips onto the front, so you can take a reading from your subject towards the light and do it that way. They also made other, a lot of accessories for this. One I've got here, which is nice, is a little hood in its original box for this lens. It says Kodak 50mm. I may fit it. I think it fit. That's it. Red dot to red dot, and you just twist it, and that fits your lens shade on. Very nice cameras. The lenses are supposed to be super quality. I've yet to run a film through it, but I hope to soon. I hope you've enjoyed this review. I've just got a Zenith EM sitting in the back, which I've just obtained yesterday, which I'm quite amazed with. That shows you the difference in size between that and an SLR. It's not much smaller actually, the Kodak. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.